It's happening. Behind 2 millimeters of borosilicate glass, 3 sextillion tryptamine molecules swirl through a sea of dichloroethane. Receiving the 2 methyl groups, it will transform a simple tryptophan derivative into one of the most provocative psychedelics known to science. I've been fascinated by psychoactive drugs my whole life. I love to study their chemistry and impact on society. And my work has allowed me to investigate extraordinary substances around the world. Yet there are still mysteries that remain. It's a substance found throughout nature, in plants and animals, whose purpose remains unknown. Some have speculated it's responsible for dreams, others for near-death experience. This is the story of DMT.
Try to hold this as long as you can. Okay, finish it, finish it. Hold it, hold it, hold it. More, longer. I'm gonna give you another one. I want you to hold this much longer.
Oh, I'm good.
One more.
Whoa.
You can do it.
No, I'm good. Whoa. Wow. I wish you guys would have seen that.
Can you describe what you saw?
I'm still looking at it. It's alive, it's moving. I wanted to touch it.
Touch what?
I don't even know what I'm touching. Oh, wow. I don't know how to explain it. Besides, holy shit.
Effects of these drugs are so profound. Full-on, extremely visual experiences of interacting with other beings.
I went to meet my friend Jason Wallach, a chemist who has researched the pharmacology of tryptamine derivatives for most of his career.
The fact that DMT has a 10 to 20 minute duration, I think makes people more likely to take a higher dose. They're more comfortable. Whereas if you took that dose of LSD, you'd probably be whacked out for 24 hours. Whereas with DMT, you could take a very high dose and be out of it within an hour. The way it is taken, smoked, or orally as ayahuasca at those doses generally induce a very intense, profound psychedelic experience where people, they call it breaking through, where they really go into an alternate landscape.
Why do you think it is that people become so fixated on DMT? Why do they find it so interesting?
It may be the fact that it's been found in the brain is fascinating. The fact that it's an endogenous chemical, that it makes you wonder what role are they playing in the normal brain signaling. And speculating maybe we have an endogenous hallucinogen system that's mediating or involved in our conscious experience.
Exactly how DMT alters human consciousness has eluded scientists, mystics, and the average Joe that smokes DMT.
I'm just the average Joe that smokes DMT occasionally and paints Mickey Mouse.
Joe Roberts is a painter whose work breaks with the conventions of visionary art to explore new ways of depicting the DMT experience.
Can you show me some of the work that you've been doing?
Oh, they really do a good job. For me, I feel like when I'm tripping, oftentimes I'll see something way off in the distance. I'll be like, oh yeah, saw like that guy over there mowing his lawn or whatever weird shit that little guy is doing over there. But I don't really know how to describe the little guy, so that's kind of the idea behind the background there out the window. It's just like far things off in the distance that you can kind of see. That's actually about DMT for sure.
And that's something you saw?
If you simplified what I saw down to like one symbol that I used, you know. So I feel like some people know what's going on when they see it. Like, I imagine. I get a lot of positive feedback on Instagram. These are all kind of, they're just like notes from smoking DMT, basically.
Could you take me through one of the drawings?
Sure. Yeah, this guy. So, like, you know, you end up in this place. It's kind of like a palace. You can kind of like move through it. You look down like a hallway, and there'll be like millions of other hallways to look at. The walls are like pink, but they're not pink. They're all the colors that you can think of kind of changing. And it's always something that I'm always kind of like, I don't know if I should be looking over there anyways. Like, there's some cooler shit over here that is probably not gonna like scare me, because there is weird shit in there. There's like weird rooms where there'll be like canals filled with water. And the water, you look at it, and it's just, there's like a sea monkey heaven or something in there, and they're all just like shooting around, and like the face from the Anonymous guys. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Guy Fawkes.
Yeah, but extra smiley, like he's smiling his brains out. And he's in there, he's like part of the wall or something. Or like the floor will be missing and there will be outer space. I'm so bad at describing stuff, Hamilton. I really am.
Was hard to describe.
I'm like ashamed of my drawing skills, because they're like, I'm like, all right, so like there's like this happy shit shooting at me that I feel like, but it's like, it doesn't look really like this. Like, it kind of, like, I see it, I'm like, well, this is the best I can do. Kevin, go away, you're farting. Oh my God.
Is that a new painting?
This one?
Yeah.
So this is the one I was starting for you. I started making like paintings like that about the process of extracting DMT. This will be mimosa. This will be a red lye. This will be vinegar. That's going to be a crock pot, coffee filters, a funnel, and like measuring cups and stuff.
It's beautiful. What do you think about the fact that it's a drug that anyone can make on a small scale in their kitchen as opposed to something like LSD?
I think that's the best part. More people should.
Due to the complexity of synthetic production, the vast majority of DMT in circulation is extracted from botanical sources. Phalaris aquatica, Acacia confusa, and most commonly, Mimosa hostilis, a thorny tree in the legume family that grows wild in southern Mexico. Alexander Shulgin wrote that DMT is everywhere. And there's nowhere that's more true than the mercados of Chiapas, where Mimosa hostilis, locally known as Tepezcuite, is a staple in traditional medicine.
Hola, ¿tienes Tepezcuite?
Sí, en polvo. Para regenerar, lo puedes revolver con una crema común y ya te lo pones como tipo mascarilla.
¿Es alucinógeno?
¿Alucinógeno?
Sí.
Ahí sí no sé, no sabría decirle, pero lo han utilizado mucho.
For centuries, the bark of Mimosa hostilis has been used as a treatment for burns, wounds, and as an ingredient in beautifying creams. But I'm not here on a dermatological investigation. When chemists first detected DMT in Mimosa hostilis, it was still thought to be synthetic. It had never been found in nature previously.
And it's been used in Mexico for, at the very least, decades and probably hundreds of years as well. Even though this plot of land is exclusively used to grow Mimosa hostilis commercially, none of it is intentionally planted. This purple bark that surrounds the root is the part of the tree that has the most concentrated natural sources of DMT. Look at the depth of this color. It's really magnificent. Have any of you ever heard of DMT?
¿Dónde?
DMT?
No sé, la verdad.
Do you know if there are any other ways that people use this plant other than as a skin treatment?
Se ocupa pues los horcones para ramada y todo eso.
What happens to the bark when you're done harvesting it?
Lo que es esto, que seque y ya luego lo hacemos pedacitos.
Now that the bark has been reduced to small chips, it's going to be powdered. Do you think there's something special or magical about the Tepezcuite tree?
No lo puedo a lo mejor decir con palabras, pero sí, debe de haber algo. La gente lo puede usar creyendo en él, ¿no? Creyéndolo. No sé, a lo mejor, pero sí en cicatrizar. Perfecto.
So after the roots have been ground to a powder, this is the final product. It's shipped anywhere that people want Mimosa hostilis root bark. It can be used to make soaps, skin creams, but it can also be used as a source of DMT.
Though most people in Mexico are unaware of Tepezcuite's DMT content, there are some notable exceptions.
Outside of the legality, what do you think these workers would say if they realize that this bark that they're harvesting is used as this incredibly powerful psychedelic drug that transports people to other dimensions?
They don't need to know about DMT because in their minds they're gonna feel like they are doing illegal things, no? And in real, nobody of them are doing nothing illegal. Until you mix it and you take out the DMT, it becomes illegal. I don't consider DMT a drug. So it's a mind expander, it's something different.
El significado de Tepezcuite viene del náhuatl, o sea, viene de una lengua náhuatl, que significa árbol del cerro que sangra. O sea, si lo quieres ver del lado científico, tiene propiedades, las puedes estudiar, o sea, tienen propiedades antioxidantes. Y si lo quieres ver del lado espiritual, yo creo que desde el momento en el que tú estás sacando esa raíz, creo que eso es mágico, ¿no?
Yo pienso que realmente es como es parte de la conexión al alma, ¿no? Nadie le ha encontrado la razón real de por qué está ahí. Yo la única razón que he encontrado que está ahí es pues la experiencia que brinda, ¿no?
Between the two of you, how much DMT have you extracted?
25 to 30 kilos.
De una forma altruista. O sea, sinceramente, como de por
rich.
amor al mundo, o sea, para dárselos a todos, para que todos lo conozcan, que no lo queremos, o sea, que no me voy a comer el mundo yo sola, no, simple y sencillamente poder transmitir, ¿no?
Do you think couples that have problems, that argue a lot, could benefit from learning to extract DMT together?
No. I think they can have a better... Bueno, ellos podrían tener una mejor relación si fumaran juntos. No, nosotros tenemos la suerte y la oportunidad de que nuestro trabajo nos junta, ¿no?
So we have 4 buckets, 4 kilos of sodium hydroxide. He's going to prepare an aqueous sodium hydroxide solution that's highly basic that will be used to liberate the DMT freebase from the Mimosa tenuiflora root bark.
Oh, careful with...
Yes, it's caustic. 1.4 liters for 1 kilo of sodium hydroxide.
And we have to wait now.
So you're waiting for it to dissolve.
It's gonna take like 20 minutes.
Do you think the process of extracting the DMT is spiritual?
No por algo se llama el árbol de la vida, ¿sabes? El árbol de la vida, que es el Tepezcuite.
The sodium hydroxide has been dissolved in the water. It's about pH 14. The pKa of DMT is 8.68. So any bark that is introduced to this water is going to immediately react, and all the DMT will be in the freebase form, which is not water soluble.
DMT's basic nitrogen is deprotonated by hydroxide ions, liberating the free base, which is soluble in nonpolar solvents.
It looks like rising bread.
A solution of naphtha and hexanes is added to the alkaline root bark mixture and stirred for 2 hours to extract the DMT free base.
You see, we are getting a yellow color. That's what we're looking for.
The DMT-containing solvent is filtered and put in trays under high-pressure sodium lamps to evaporate. The concentrated solution is then placed in a container to freeze precipitate overnight.
Tomorrow, 12 o'clock, you can smoke this. I have a bad experience. I get into jail. The police, they was looking for a lab, but when they find the bags of the mimosa dust, they think it was methamphetamine, and they say I have 25 kilos of methamphetamine. So I was inside of jail, and you have to survive inside of there. So my companion helped me, and I get a very big bag of DMT to the jail.
Sí, sí me puse nerviosa, pero sinceramente pues, estaba embarazada, ¿no? Y me decían, no, pues pase, señor, usted no tiene problemas. Te pueden reprimir en muchas cosas, te pueden tener encerrado en un cuarto, pero si tú eres libre, la libertad va más allá de algo tangible, ¿no? La libertad es mental. Yo sé que él le compartió a personas que estaban ahí adentro, ¿sabes?
So I began giving DMT to the people inside jail. I have the opportunity to give this guy. He has 30 years of jail. He never been outside. I give him a very good session of DMT. He smoked like 2-3 times. And when he returned, he hugged me, began crying, and said me, in 30 years, it's the first time I've been out of here. With DMT, nobody can stop your mind. It takes like 40 days to go to lab, to everything, so they understand that it was only Tepesco weed. And when they understand it was a legal substance, they have to let me go.
Do you think it's worth the risk to extract DMT?
Sí, pues sí, sí vale la pena por el conocimiento y a través de transmitir eso creo que este movimiento se está dando, ¿no?
So this was left in a freezer overnight.
Overnight. Normally I leave it 24 hours, but for this special occasion we're taking it before.
So after the solvent is evaporated, you scrape it off of the dishes, dry it out, and this is the finished product.
Yeah, that's the finished product.
It's a very nice smell. It's indolic, but a little bit floral as well. Very complex, compelling odor that I love.
The traditional use and ubiquity of Mimosa hostilis in Mexico allows for its sale and cultivation without government interference. But in the United States, the purchase of this bark can result in arrests and penalties that threaten the freedom of peaceful alkaloid extractors.
Hi, nice to meet you. Travis.
Travis Riddle was a pizza delivery man and psychedelic enthusiast whose interest in DMT extraction almost resulted in a decade-long prison sentence.
This is Bird Gardens in Naples. Cool little oasis out here, a little place where I do my community service. It's just a rescue for parrots. A lot of them are aged and kind of like a retirement home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It could be me in a little cage. Kind of looks like a jail.
It's a very dramatic story, and I want people to appreciate that this is an absurd thing to have occurred. Break it down slowly and dramatically.
So there's a legal gray area with DMT. I'd read different things that it was legal, that you could get the bark because it's not really DMT in that form. I had seen it online, I ordered it.
But you weren't ordering DMT.
No. mimosa hostilis fruit bar. It's actually a common ingredient in a lot of beauty care products. So I didn't really hesitate at that point, and there's not many people that have gotten in trouble for it. And I got 4.5 kilograms of it, and that triggered something with the French government to let Homeland Security know that there was a package coming. And when you don't know about the substance, you treat it like something that could be dangerous. That's what they're trained to do. And treated me as like a dangerous criminal. I got it ordered to my grandparents' house. Pictures of me being there, the surveillance being done.
Homeland Security essentially starts stalking you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they flew a helicopter. It cost them like 20 grand just to launch a helicopter from Miami. And I was being watched the whole day from a helicopter. I never noticed it, I should have. They were watching pretty closely. Picked up the package and I thought it was all clear. I did have everything in the car. It was like the plan for the night. Get right to it, extract it. Less than 5 seconds after getting in the car, I was on a one-way circle. They came and hit my car head on, pretty hard. I thought I was getting robbed at first. Undercover agents with AR-15s threw me on the ground. Pinned me down to the floor with like a gun like this. It was very traumatic. I didn't know what was happening. They brought me in for questioning.
And you were up against decades in prison, millions of dollars in fines.
They were treating it as DMT the whole time. If you look at any of the reports I have, I ordered DMT, not the bar. It was like 4.5 kilograms of DMT, which on their scale is equivalent to 700 to 1,000 kilograms of marijuana.
What does that mean?
There's a whole guideline for sentencing. They do equivalencies, and like marijuana is kind of the base.
So they convert the mimosa hostilis root bark into DMT and then convert the DMT into marijuana.
For sentencing.
And that's how you're sentenced.
It was like a level 28, which is minimum of 7 to 10 years. I thought this is it, like I'm gonna be in jail for a long time.
In order to expedite the unjust punishment of people who use drugs unfamiliar to judges and prosecutors, a system was devised to convert certain substances into chemically and pharmacologically unrelated cannabis equivalents. 1 gram of DMT is sentenced as being equivalent to 100 grams of marijuana. 1 gram of DOM is equivalent to 1.67 kilos of marijuana. And 1 gram of PCP is equivalent to 10 kilos of marijuana.
There's a mimosa hostilis right at a park by my house that the county is growing.
Really?
Yeah, on county property.
So they arrested you for possessing a plant that they themselves possess?
Yeah.
You sure it's mimosa hostilis?
Yeah, there's a tag on it. So this is the county-grown mimosa tree. Exact same thing I ordered. I don't know whose idea it was to bring this here. If they had any idea that it has DMT in it.
Does it not look like someone was digging there?
For sure.
Do you think people are illegally harvesting the roots?
Not me.
DMT, like a lot of psychoactive drugs that are now known to be found in nature, was initially thought to be a synthetic compound.
Yeah, it was first synthesized 1930s by Mansky and believed to be synthetic, and it was subsequently found in nature. And then they later found that that was, in fact, consistent with the synthetic DMT. A lot of the research back then was done with injected DMT, usually IM, which I think limited its more widespread use. But it was then shortly thereafter discovered by Nick Sand that you could smoke it. And so I think nowadays that's definitely the most common route that pure DMT is taken.
Nick Sand was a legendary clandestine chemist, best known for his work synthesizing vast quantities of LSD in the 1960s. But his true passion was DMT. DMT is a drug ill-suited to underground manufacture due to the high dose required and relatively complex synthesis. Yet Sand still produced a reported 30 kilograms over the course of his career, which ended abruptly in 1996 when his lab in British Columbia was raided by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
In the past, it was generally synthetic, and it can be synthesized fairly straightforward, but it's definitely not something that anyone could do. Some of the chemicals, like lithium aluminum hydride, are extremely pyrophoric and dangerous. The reactions need to be done under an inert atmosphere of nitrogen or argon to prevent flammability and to get a good yield.
With a new generation of botanical extractors replacing the chemists of the past, synthetic DMT and the people that risk their freedom to produce it have become far less common. I'm on my way to meet a chemist who's doing underground research on different DMT derivatives. He doesn't sell the products that he creates. He doesn't give them away to other people. His interest is solely in self-exploration and has used his experiments to develop new ways of synthesizing DMT.
What a chemist really is you're a quantum mechanical engineer. You're moving little tiny bits of things that aren't even real and creating new things out of it. I've always just been drawn to that, at the alchemy of transformation. The only thing is, like, for video, like, the amount of shots that are in my apartment, I want to keep them to a very minimum. Yeah, okay. All right, ready?
Could you tell me a little bit about how you first got interested in chemistry?
So my interest in chemistry began when I was pretty young, 10, 11 years old. My interest in chemistry today evolved really through discovering psychedelics because it expanded my mind to what's really possible.
What was the first psychedelic that you synthesized?
Well, the first psychedelic that I actually synthesized was mescaline from vanillin.
That's a pretty tricky first synthesis.
I wanted a challenge because I knew, I would have trouble along the way. But through doing it, that I would become a better chemist because of it. The big draw towards DMT is the fact that it's ubiquitous and found everywhere in nature. Because in my opinion, that's the be-all, end-all and what you can do with chemistry. It's trying to do what nature does so effortlessly.
Some people see the two as being at odds with one another.
Like, we are the natural living essence. We're the ones doing it. Like, what makes us, a human, fumbling around with chemicals any different than, a plant? We're not very good at it, but it's like, we might as well, like, it's fun,
It is fun.
But, in all seriousness, let's make a plan here. The first thing is make that triacetoxyborohydride.
Powdered sodium borohydride is added to a round-bottom flask and suspended in DCE. 3 molar equivalents of glacial acetic acid are added drop-wise.
Some nice vapor. It's almost like meditative, just to watch the stirring reaction. It's great.
An initial proteinolysis reaction produces borane, sodium acetate, and hydrogen gas. Borane accepts an electron pair from the acetate anion, forming sodium monoacetoxyborohydride. The reaction repeats itself with the 2 remaining equivalents of acetic acid to yield sodium triacetoxyborohydride. Why are you using triacetoxyborohydride as opposed to sodium borohydride or sodium cyanoborohydride?
Right. So the thing about triacetoxy is it's great for reducing imines, but it's not very good at reducing carbonyls. So if it reacts with the formaldehyde, you're fucked.
In a separate round-bottom flask, tryptamine is dissolved in DCE with brief microwave irradiation, followed by 2 molar equivalents of triethylamine, 3 molar equivalents of the formaldehyde sodium bisulfite adduct, 4 molar equivalents of sodium triacetoxyborohydride, and a dash of 4 angstrom molecular sieves.
Actually, I'm going to give this a little bit to stir. I think of the monoliths of the ancient past, the pyramids and the kind of, Stonehenge. Is like, in a way, those things are a tribute to the gods or to nature, and you think like it's art, right? That's all. I think all art is drawn from the same thing. It's a tribute to something greater than yourself, and I think that's exactly what total synthesis is. An offering or a tribute to say, I admire this, and here's my best effort, And through that, I think that's exactly what we're doing. You know, we're life too. We're nature too, and you know, we're trying. You know, yeah. See silvery. When it's silvery like that, usually means it's good. That's how I know.
After giving the reactants 10 minutes to condense, 4 molar equivalents of sodium triacetoxyborohydride are added dropwise.
Okay.
The reaction begins when triethylamine deprotonates the formaldehyde sodium bisulfite adduct, freeing the aldehyde to condense with tryptamine's basic nitrogen, forming an aminium ion and eliminating water, which is sequestered by molecular sieves, preventing hydrolysis and driving the reaction forward in accordance with Le Chatelier's principle. The reductive amination begins when hydride attacks the electrophilic aminium carbon and electrons flow into the ammonium cation, producing NMT and restoring nucleophilicity for the amine to attack a second formaldehyde carbonyl. An analogous reduction of the tertiary aminium ion yields DMT.
It's been a long time since I used DMT. I kind of see it as there's nothing that I can immediately gain from it, right? It's like, I mean, I'm not on the brink of death, right? If the time comes where, you know, I'll use them, then I'll use them, but, you know, it's not an active activity of mine.
Some pursue DMT for the joy of its chemistry, but for others, the fun doesn't start until the DMT is in a very different type of glassware. In the United States, where DMT has no traditional use, enthusiasts and distributors sometimes take on the role of a shaman, whatever they think that is.
Personally, myself, I see a shaman as a glorified trip sitter. It's gonna happen no matter who's standing next to you, what kind of bells are being rung, or whistles are being blown. I'm just gonna be there to make sure you don't choke on your tongue. We're all shamans in a way. We're all healers.
That's interesting. Can you tell me about what you did before you were selling DMT and acting as a DMT guide?
I was working at Silicon Valley as director of marketing and inside sales for a tech company.
But it wasn't spiritually fulfilling?
No, it left something, a hunger within me. And I found DMT through someone from Reddit, and it started these questions in my head, like, what is this? Where can I find this?
And what kind of people come to your door asking for DMT?
Everyone who you can think of, moms, dads, a lot of young people, professionals, blue-collar people. I've been able to share it with Silicon Valley people, artists from Industrial Light and Magic, Apple engineers, Google engineers. I can't even describe all the titles. Everybody wants to try the spirit molecule.
I'm gonna try to hold this as long as you can. Big hit, finish it, finish it. I'm gonna give you another one. I want you to hold this much longer.
Oh, I'm good.
One more.
Whoa.
You can do it.
No, I'm good. Whoa.
This is great.
Wow. That was amazing. I'm still here. Wow.
This is so strange.
Welcome back.
Hello. Kind of back. Things are still dancing around.
What did you just experience?
In English words, it was a lot of geometric, carnival-esque colors.
Very fun. It's like really interactive.
I felt like I kept holding up my fingers. Was I doing that? I felt like I was going like this a lot.
You were.
Okay.
That was very inspiring.
Inspiring in what way?
For a moment, it felt good that I existed and I had no control over it. I was happy and scared at the same time. I was scared because I couldn't control it, but I was happy that it was going that direction.
There's a reason this stuff is so illegal. It's because once you do it, you see through the matrix.
What about the government and the people that don't understand DMT or don't think people should be using it? What would you say to them so that they understood why what you're doing is valuable?
They know about it already.
Do they?
Absolutely. They harvest pineal glands and they use it themselves.
The government?
Yeah, Pizzagate revealed a lot of this.
I don't believe in Pizzagate.
Some people do. Certain people really do.
I didn't realize there was a connection between Pizzagate and DMT.
Oh, absolutely, because they're eating the kids and all the people, and they're consuming all the organs. There's certain elements, specifically adrenochrome and pineal glands.
Huh. The idea that DMT is present in the human brain and is responsible for altered states of consciousness is deeply entrenched in the popular understanding of the drug. But DMT has never been found in the human brain. There is a small body of research reporting its detection in the brains of rodents, notably a 2013 microdialysis experiment that found nanogram quantities in samples obtained from the pineal glands of living rats.
What do you think about this idea that DMT is produced in the brain and is...
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard about it. I've read that they found it in rats now, and I guess that means it's probably in people. That's kind of like, I don't know what that means, but it makes sense, I guess.
Despite the fact that DMT is unstable in the body and only present in trace quantities, if at all, I wanted to see if it could be detected in the whole brain homogenate of rat and pig via gas chromatography mass spectrometry.
DMT and most tryptamines are rapidly degraded. And in some instances, after an hour, it's at very low levels relative to what it was. Well, this is definitely the brain stem. Brain stem there, too. And then we'll take some visual cortex. Freezing would block the enzyme activity, but as soon as you thaw and it gets to a certain temperature, that enzyme activity will pick up again. If there's any monoamine oxidase present, it might break it down.
Cerebellum is so beautiful.
There's several glandular structures.
The next step is to homogenize the brains to facilitate the extraction process.
Looks like a strawberry milkshake.
After homogenization in a phosphate buffer, the brain samples were centrifuged. The supernatant was decanted into a C8 cation exchange SPE column designed to bind polar amines. Nonpolar components of the supernatant elute with a series of wash solutions.
There's a graduate cylinder somewhere.
Finally, a solution of dichloromethane, isopropanol, and ammonium hydroxide was used to liberate the bound amines from the stationary phase in their freebase form. A single fraction was collected from each sample and prepared for GC-MS analysis.
In case there's any uncertainty relative to plants, the brain is a totally non-viable source for DMT. This is just an analytical experiment to see if detectable quantities exist. And if there is, it is absolutely a trace quantity. There's no way that anyone could ever use the brain of an animal as a viable source for DMT. No way.
If you were killing people and extracting DMT from their brain, they might prosecute you for DMT manufacturing and murder, but.
With the final samples prepared, we ventured off to the GC-MS to see what we'd found. The tension was felt by everyone in the room, including Jason. Both of us were skeptical about the possibility we'd detect DMT, even with the exquisite sensitivity of the mass spectrometer. But to our great surprise, we saw a peak at 188.3. Could it be actual evidence of endogenous DMT?
Yeah, I don't know.
We repeated the experiment 3 times and never saw the elusive peak again. Perhaps it was trace contamination from a reference sample, Or perhaps self-transforming machine elves were dancing on the mass specs detector.
So yeah, neither the cow brain synaptosomes or the pig brain had DMT, and the rat brain is inconclusive.
Inconclusive, but it was detected.
Yeah, but needs to be replicated.
Okay.
You know, it's been done before, but it's clearly difficult.
Even if endogenous DMT plays no role in human biology, it doesn't make the experiences people have using it any less transformative.
I get a rush out of just kind of making something new and then kind of moving on to the next thing. So really, it's a hobby.
So this is reacted for the last...
Yeah, for the last 12 hours or so.
The reaction is done, but the DMT still has to be extracted from the reaction mixture using pH manipulations analogous to the ones that were used to isolate DMT from Mimosa hostilis, and had it been present from the brains of animals. Half of chemistry is cleaning up the mess you make to get that crystal product.
Yeah, that's good. Oh my gosh, it's like crystalline too. You can filter that.
So that's instant precipitation of DMT freebase.
Exactly. I've never actually seen that happen.
That's beautiful.
This is the only way I know how I can share it with other people is to pursue, you know, the kind of research I'm interested in.
So this is essentially the end of it. It has been precipitated out as a fumarate salt in this ether, acetone, DCM mixture. But this is it. That's DMT was just synthesized. So, yay.
Yay.
So what are your plans for this DMT?
I don't know. I don't think I'll consume it. I think I'll do some analysis on it to make sure it's, you know, pure DMT, to make sure the kind of procedures works as expected. That's probably as far as I'll go with it. And if it's pure, then it's nice to have a synthetic standard. To do a bunch of crazy, you know, things, mixing a bunch of weird, smelly chemicals together, and then get this crystal and have the same experience, you know, it's crazy for anyone, because it's like, whoa, you know, that is the same thing as the thing that came out of the plant, but, you know, I did it synthetically. It's sort of like art. If someone makes a painting, you can tell the difference between someone who's in it for something greater than themselves. You can see it in their art.
The chemists that are making DMT are kind of like wizards. Like, they're making magic you can smoke, I guess, maybe. Casts this crazy spell on you for a little while. Another way to look at it.
Whether it's synthesized by chemists in a lab or enzymes in a cell, the molecule is the same. It's everywhere around us, but that's easy to forget without the help of a wizard to conjure it.
I also believe in unicorns and fairies, but that's a story for another episode, my friend.